Hey guys, I'm here with the one and only Brian Sikansky, and he is here to give us all of the business tips, and I'm definitely so excited. Brian, would you mind introducing yourself and your business to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Skansky. My business is called Mindset Copy. So I started as a direct response copywriter about a year and a half ago. Before that, I spent about 12 years selling financial instruments for a bunch of banks, to pension plans, investors, those kind of things before I finally found a way out and found the copywriting world.
That's awesome. How long have you been a part of Copy Chief?
Yeah, so it was right around that time, about a year and a half ago, about the fall of 2019, when I kind of like, I think Chris Orzakowski was always pitching like copy chief, copy chief, copy chief, and I was like, I've seen that bald-headed guy on Facebook. I don't, like I had, I was following, I was basically just following all these people, and I was just like, do I need another, guy talking about copywriting? And then I finally joined and joined Copy Chief Live. Like went to Copy Chief Live around the same time. So, and ever since, Kevin's been a coach of mine, and obviously, I think I have to thank Chris for the suggestion and following in that path. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And you're a pretty well-known name considering that you've only been around for a year and a half. Do you have any tips for, becoming a household name of Copy Chief?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just kind of thinking, getting to the point where you kind of have to think out loud. You have to kind of just, show up. Like when I first started, like to give you the, to give you the story, and it kind of goes to your next question. But like when I showed up on Copy Chief Live, it was just waves of imposter syndrome. Like again, I didn't even know who Paris Lampropoulos was. Like he came on the elevator, and I was like, who is that? Like I was completely new to the whole industry, and to, like, this is my full-time job now. And I'm just like, can I really do this? And what I learned is that, more than even your brain gives you credit for. So what I did was just start to think out loud. Like I was having a lot of conversations, and as you have conversations with business owners, but also for me, just kind of interacting in Copy Chief, getting to know copywriters, just providing feedback to them. What you learn is that your unique perspective and how you approach things is so valuable, and you're going to give people like just massive aha moments that in your own mind you're just like, didn't everybody already know that already? So it really is kind of that thinking out loud. Kevin has already always recommended the book Show Your Work. That's something that I've really tried to do as well. Like just kind of documenting your journey as much as possible. Take people on that ride. So they don't know how great of a copywriter you are unless you go out there and have dialogue, unless you put out content that talks about the things that you're working on. It, can be I'm very upfront about, like, I've had not a ton of bad clients, but I've had a series of bad clients. And what I do is every time that happens, I put together a video, I talk about everything that went wrong, and I put it out to the world. So it's just, having fun with it, but also knowing that as you have these conversations, as you're giving feedback, that's not only going to give people confidence that you're a great copywriter, it's also going to give you confidence that you're a great copywriter. A lot of times, especially for me, I was my own worst enemy as a brand new copywriter, and I had to kind of build that belief in myself alongside everybody else as well.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, you're not the only one that's done this. There are many other Copy Chief members who have done exactly the same thing just by working out loud and showing that, those things that most people would be afraid of sharing, or think like people are going to think I'm an idiot, if I talk about this kind of thing. But that's actually the kind of thing that makes people trust you more. And I think you're a really great example of that. So you mentioned going to Copy Chief Live. Do you have any fun stories of, meeting people, or any stories of Copy Chief in general that are just kind of a, bright spot in your day?
Yeah, I think for me, I guess the other part of that, like, again, like, the thing that you're talking about is kind of like you using vulnerability as your superpower. So let me just use that as, like, I still do, and very much did when I attended there, is social anxiety. So I walked into that room, I knew absolutely nobody in the room, and like the voice in my head was just like, what are you doing here? Like, so I can't tell you that I met a ton of people, just because, again, I was kind of just terrified to even walk up to people, even at that time. I've gotten a little bit better since then and things like that. But I think it was just kind of it was just kind of one of the things that I always underappreciated is the people that you surround yourself with, and being in that room and listening to the presenters, kind of the A-list copywriters all the way down to the people in the super group. Is you just got an appreciation for the ambition that people had, the ability to go out there and learn and consume information, and even the people at the top, how much, like take Paris for an example, like this guy is always checking out what's going on in the market. He has always this thirst for knowledge. So I think that was one of the first things for me is like, okay, I've surrounded myself in this room with all these people. And I came from a corporate background where, again, the people that I surrounded myself with were always complaining about, like this and that. And to be able, that was kind of my first opportunity to kind of start to surround myself with the people that I knew were going to bring me up to where I wanted to be. And I've continued to do that. It's like, okay, whether it's online or in person, how can I surround myself with the people that are always pushing me forward? They're always, they're showing me the way in some respects, and giving me encouragement along the way, but I'm also giving them feedback. And that's, that's what really encouraged me to get more active on Copy Chief. Is, when I first started, I didn't even think that I had any value to bring, just because I barely knew what copywriting was. But as I got into it, that got me more interacting with that, and just meeting those people and the quality of people kind of got me into that community and being an active member of that. And it's changed my life. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So I want to shift a little, because you said that you started your copywriting business in around the fall of 2019, correct?
Yep.
So this is, right before a global pandemic hits the world. What is the number one obstacle you faced while building a business during a pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it was just my time just got crunched because, when I first started, my kids were in preschool, everything was perfect. I had a clear schedule, could, actually probably had more time that I needed. And then when the pandemic hit, we moved out of New York City. We kind of were a little bit of a nomad for a long period of time, but I was taking care of two toddlers while trying to run a business at night. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is just being more I went from having 40 hours a week to, now I work 20 hours or less a week. It's not that I don't get as much done or that much results. Is I've gotten really clear on who I want to work with, what I'm going to get done in those select hours. And it's, and again, like I enjoy that freedom now. Like nothing's really going to change even as the pandemic goes away, just because I really enjoy that freedom with my family. But I know that I can work 2 or 3 hours a day and get a lot done because I'm very focused. I have a strategy. I have all these things that I didn't have before. I was very much reactive, checking my email 37 times a day, and just very scatterbrained, in how I was, functioning my time. And now I have a set schedule. I make sure it's in a good sense, and that results in what I want. So it makes it a lot easier. So that's kind of the biggest thing is I've only got a set number of hours, so now I have to make the most of that, and doing it that way, and getting off my phone and being more diligent with what I'm working on at any set time. So
it sounds like it turned into a positive thing. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, along the way, there was a lot of in getting there was a lot of days and weeks where, I was getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep and things like that. So it took a path to figure that out and to actually get to the point where I knew what strategies to use. I think that was kind of the thing for me, as I kind of had to figure out what works for me. What I usually, what I first did when I first became a copywriter is I looked out at all the, people within Copy Chief and elsewhere and said, like, I really like their business. I like what they're doing. Let me just copy the strategies that they're doing, and, learn that doesn't really work. You kind of have to find your own personal thing. Like I was just copying like new business strategies that other people were using. And it became more like a job where I was kind of like lifting my head off the pail and like, I don't really want to go on LinkedIn today and make that my sole focus. So I kind of had to figure out, like, again, just taking action and trying to figure out, like, what does a strategy look like for me that I really enjoy? And that kind of gives you the energy within those set number of hours to have the best number of results, because again, it's less like a job and it's more kind of a more like a passion project.
Sure. I love that. So what would you say to, incoming Copy Chief members who are just starting out on their freelancing career and they think like, wow, a year and a half doesn't look that long. Like, what can I do now to be as successful as Brian in a year and a half? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's all about that kind of imperfect action. Like you're never going to have everything figured out at the very beginning. Like I can't whisper in your ear and say like, here's the strategies that you have to use. Again, and this is kind of the strategy that I use. It was really trial and error to figure out like, okay, here's all the things that I don't want to do. Here's an inkling of stuff that I do want to do. Maybe I'll lean into this a little bit more. But this is what I see with a lot of copywriters as well. Is like, don't sit in that imposter syndrome or anxiety. That's kind of the best way to get out of imposter syndrome, is just to start taking action. Like think about your days in terms of like, what daily habits can I put together to get me to that goal of getting a client or things like that. And not everything's going to work. Think, at the end of a month or 2 months or 3 months, sit down and say like, okay, here's the things that are actually getting me results. These aren't getting me results. Maybe I'll pivot to something else. But again, just always being in constant action and not sitting in, like I guess the key phrase that I've always heard is like, and I'm a recovering perfectionist as well, is like, don't take that perfect inaction. Like, don't just sit there and compare and despair about everybody else's copywriting success. Really think about like what's working for you and how can you do something in a consistent, repetitive manner to get you to where the goals that you're looking for.
And use the Copy Chief community as your support, because like we're all here to help out. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, feel free. Like again, like I do it. I do it all the time. I try to create like a daily journal on Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can see kind of my struggles along the way. But even if you're not willing to do that, come into the Copy Chief community and say like, okay, here's what I'm doing. It's not working. I'm not getting clients. The clients that I am getting aren't getting results, and let the community kind of help you out and give suggestions. And, if anything, just kind of, like just tell you, similar type of stories, how they went through the same thing and how there is a way out if you just continue to take action in the right direction. So,
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Brian. We really appreciate your insights.
all right, thanks.